If you have a DSLR and you're thinking about going mirrorless, but all the cameras seem too small and the buttons seem too fidgety, you probably are gonna love the X-H1. It brings all the tech that you want, like an electronic viewfinder that allows you to magnify and review pictures without having the sun block anything. It gives you 4K video, a stabilized sensor, this amazing top screen that is from this decade, instead of the top screens on every other Canon and Nikon camera. I love these mechanical dials. Look at this, a mechanical ISO ring. So I don't have to look at the screens. I can see what my settings are in an analog way. These aperture rings, oh, nice clicks. It has such a good feel to it. It has a tilty screen that flips to the side so you can hold it above or below you and still see it. It has awesome eye detection AF, so you don't have to move the thumbstick around to select the focusing point all the time. It has truly silent shooting, even with the viewfinder, so you can shoot candidly and not disturb people. It can actually balance the big heavy lens that I want to use on these things. It's compatible with the Godox flashes that we use anyway, so I'm not sacrificing anything as far as accessories go. And Fuji puts out these firmware updates on a regular basis that actually make your camera a better camera. I wish all the other manufacturers would figure out how to do this. Thanks for doing that, Fuji. Straight up, the Fuji X-H1 is a better camera than Canon and Nikon APS-C DSLRs. And when I say APS-C, I'm talking about the size of the sensor here, and that gets to be pretty important because there is another mirrorless camera that has a bigger sensor, and it's the Sony A7 III, and it's about the same price, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. There are some big disadvantages to the X-H1 if you're switching from a DSLR, just some things to consider. The thing that I hate the most is the awful battery life. Look at this toy battery. It will run out in the middle of the day and leave you hanging. But one saving grace is it's USB chargeable, so you don't have to carry around a charger. It also has no headphone jack, which for a camera that's supposed to be used for video is a huge, huge oversight. And it has a 15-minute recording limit for 4K video for people who are hybrid shooters. Like, what is going on, Fuji? All those things can be fixed if you add a vertical grip. You could put more batteries in it, but with 2 extra batteries, that vertical grip is gonna end up costing you $460. So now we've gone from a $1,900 camera to a $2,350 camera, which kind of puts it in a whole different price range, right? Especially when competitors offer those same things built in and you don't have to make your camera all big and bulky. Some more drawbacks. The glass is more limited than you might be used to with Canon or Nikon. There's no equivalent 70-200 f2.8 for portraiture, nor is there anything like an 85mm f1.4 that'll give you that level of background blur. There's also no big glass for wildlife. You cannot get a 600mm f4 for it. That cool shutter speed dial that I showed you only works in full stops. So if you want to get to a half or a third of a stop, you have to work 2 dials in conjunction and look at the screen instead of looking at the nice analog controls. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose. The touchscreen sucks. It just sucks. As you try to flip through pictures, it just doesn't work well at all, and you end up just going back to the buttons for it. And for sports, well, it's workable, but I would much rather have a D500, which is faster, has a much bigger buffer, and has much better subject tracking too. Now let's talk about the X-Trans sensor. Instead of using a standard bare filter like almost every other sensor in the world, they arrange the red, green, and blue filter slightly different, so all the green is clumped together. And Fuji says it's way better, but I don't think it's way better. And every test that I've seen doesn't show it way better, and the noise doesn't seem way better. It seems exactly the same, except it does require very different processing. And me, I continue to use Lightroom with it. I have tested the other apps, and every Fuji enthusiast tells you have to use Iridium or some other type of app. But a camera should fit into my workflow as a pro photographer. I shouldn't have to change the app that I use just to suit some novel type of sensor that it has, especially if I'm not seeing any real results out of it. So for me, the X-Trans sensor isn't an advantage, it's actually a disadvantage. It's interesting that Fuji decided not to put it on their medium format camera. Maybe it's not better after all. Check out that raw dynamic range. I just love having the aperturing on the lens because it gives my left hand something to do. That's at ISO 25,600. Crap. Oh, no. I had my stupid ISO ring set to high instead of auto. It was just like one tick off. So you already love Fuji. How does the X-H1 compare to the X-T2? Well, they're mostly the same camera. The software is pretty much the same. The pictures they take are exactly the same. They have the same insufficient batteries. The big difference is that the X-H1 has sensor stabilization. And if you use lenses like this amazing 16 to 55 that don't have image stabilization built into the lens, that's really important. The reason I stopped using the X-T2 was because the Fuji lenses are so sharp that the reciprocal rule doesn't matter. You can use the reciprocal rule and still show tons of handshake because they're showing so much detail. I needed a stabilized sensor and now I have it. So yeah, I like the X-H1 better than the X-T2 for that. But all of us on our team, when we picked up the X-H1, the first thing we said is, it feels cheap and plasticky. And compared to the X-T2, they're right. The X-T2 just feels better in the hand. It's more solidly built. Even though I like the big grip on the X-H1, the X-T2 just has that special something. The X-T2 is missing that top dial, but I prefer this because I can still see all my settings by looking at the analog dials, and it leaves me room for this exposure compensation dial that I love having analog. This is what I love about Fuji, is the analog experience. I don't want an extra LCD screen. So I'm kind of torn myself. I love the X-T2 more, but the X-H1 is just a more practical camera. This Osprey here. I just ran out of batteries. This is the Fuji way of life. The best shot finally appears and then my battery dies. Just give us a bigger battery, Fuji. So it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, the Sony A7 Mark III, which is a $2,000 camera. It's about the same price. It's mirrorless. It has most of the great features that I just discussed, but it's a full frame camera. And it has a bunch of other benefits too. But the full frame sensor is the big one, right? It's 2.3 times bigger than this sensor. And in our tests and other people's tests, it means it has less than half the visible noise at the same ISO. It also means that you get access to full frame lenses. So if you're a pro shooting with a 70-200 f2.8 on a full frame body, you can get that for the Sony A7 III, but you cannot get that effect. Not the background blur, not the low light gathering capability with the X-H1. You're missing something. The A7 Mark III also has a big, huge battery that literally lasts all day, so you don't have to worry about carrying it around. But the A7 Mark III doesn't have like this awesome aperture dial that I love. I would rather feel the X-H1 in my hands, but I like the results of the Sony A7 Mark III better. The list of benefits for the A7 Mark III is actually pretty huge. For sports, it is better. It has a way bigger buffer. The focusing points go to the edges of the frame. It can do eye detect autofocus and continuous focus, which this camera can't. It tracks a subject as it moves side to side far, far better, and it does a full 10 frames a second without having to add a grip. It can allow you to do dual back button autofocus, where one does a single autofocus point and another button does eye detect autofocus. It can record video to 2 SD cards for redundancy, and we found the video autofocusing was just way more consistent and reliable. And Sony has real pro support for the A7 Mark III. We've used it and it's been really good. Fuji only has pro support for their medium format camera. And finally, the system. If you're shooting with a Sony A7 Mark III and you decide you want to upgrade to a high resolution camera, you can get the A7R Mark III. Or if you want a dedicated, fast, high performance sports body, you can get the Sony A9. With the X-H1, this is it. You're at the top rung. You can't go above 24 megapixels with the X mounts. So it kind of limits your growth. So should you get the X-H1? If you're a Fuji user, it is the best camera. If you're an existing SLR user and you're thinking about going mirrorless, the Fuji cameras give you the best experience, but if you don't need the sensor stabilization, the experience on the X-T2 is actually a little better. But if you are going to get the high-end lenses, you probably want the sensor stabilization, and this experience is still better than any other camera. If you're a practical person and you care about the final images more, if you have upward mobility and you think you might want to get big glass or something, the Sony A7 Mark III is probably a better value for you. I know that's going to enrage a lot of people, but my job here is not to tell you what you want to hear about an existing camera, especially if you already bought it. We have tutorials for people who have already bought the camera. My job is to help people who are buying a camera make educated choices, because you're spending thousands of dollars, and I take that responsibility really seriously. So I already know the Fuji community is fanatical, and me saying that this beautiful camera is less than perfect in some ways and maybe doesn't compare great to another competitor, that's gonna make people mad, and I'm sorry. But my responsibility is to the consumer, because they're laying their dollars on the line. If you have the camera and you love it, great, you keep shooting with it. I'm not gonna knock it out of your hand. I love it, you should love it too. Don't take it personal. It's just a camera review, and it's just one guy's opinion. I hope you liked this video. Subscribe for more free videos, reviews, tutorials, and a lot more. Check out my book, Stunning Digital Photography, which teaches you photographic techniques that will improve your photography much, much more than upgrading a camera or lens ever would. If you have follow-up questions, or if you want to share your own experiences with the X-H1, add a comment down below. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and like. Thank you.